Jim Boeheim, Mike Krzyzewski, and a whole lot of hot water. Let's get into it. Another episode of Beyond the Locker Room. Hey, I'm your host Brian, and I'm going to get into a couple of different topics, or all summed up under college basketball. I was planning to discuss Kentucky and their undefeated season so far. I might get into that next week, but something else has come up in the last couple of days or the last week or so that kind of just really been bugging me. It's the media's kind of like just implicit love affair with, you know, big time college coaches, especially when you find it. You find it in football and some college football in some respects, but basketball is ridiculous with it. I mean, the amount of love that, you know, that I've seen, you know, and amount of like just giving the benefit of doubt, I think, for a lot of different areas and dismissing it as nothing. And what I'm referring to is two situations. One, Duke basketball and what's going on there. Rasheed Sulaimon getting suspended and then getting kicked out, dismissed from the team from Duke. And it's the first time ever a Duke player, at least in Coach K's tenure in 35 years, is dismissed by the team. And that happened on January 29th. Now the word, you know, I'll get to Syracuse in a second. The word is on this front now is supposedly he went into, I guess in this case here, he had two sexual assault allegations, you know, against him that were being reviewed or investigated. At the double check, I'll put the link down below about more details about it. But in this case, what comes of it in this case is that Coach K and Duke was aware of these charges that were coming to him, and these sexual allegations, and they let him play in this case here. You know, they knew about it since March 14th of 2014, and then decided in January 29th of this year to then decide to dismiss him from the team. You know, when they had an opportunity to do so long before that. Now, my point is this. You know, listen, my whole thing is this. You could take two stances on this. You could either be like a Jimbo Fisher style in this case and say, hey, you know, Jameis Winston's my boy. I'm sticking with him. I don't believe he's this type of person. And I'll ride with him until I hear otherwise. That's one way of going about it. And I don't wrong him that way if you want to do it that way. The other way to go about it is pretty much say, hey, not on my watch. We're not having any of that. Cut ties. It's been fun, but adios. Off you go. And in this case, but what Duke did was neither one. In this case, they kind of waited around to see what the situation was going to be, and then when it got a little too hot, or unless they didn't really need him anymore, then they decided to dismiss him. And I think there's a bit of a hypocrisy considering this is coming from Duke. You know, high-minded Duke in this case here, Coach K, the pillar, the paragon of virtue, you know, for this to be going on, and for folks to, you know, to kind of just say, hey, you know, like, for the most part, the couple articles I'll post one is, you know, pretty critical of them, but most of the articles are pretty much saying, you know what, we just move on here, nothing to see here, folks, and that's it. Which leads me to my next comment, which is kind of dovetails nicely because Coach K was on PTI this week, talking about Syracuse and what they're going to, you know, the suspension of Boeheim for, I believe, 9 games. I think it's next year, for next year. And here's my thing with this. You know, this thing, supposedly there's, you know, charges for, you know, as far as like, you know, NCAA, you know, charges and you know, violations, I should say, for Boeheim going back about 10 years. Okay, so that's almost going back to Carmelo Anthony's time. Now, he hasn't had the championship pulled away from him. You know, losses will be taken from him. And obviously, in this case, he's supposed to be missing 6 or 9 games. Once again, I'll put a post about his as well down below about his situation. The real point about this is in this case here, and once again, folks just lap it up, the press just laps it up, and just say, oh, don't worry about slapping the wrist 9 games. Are you kidding me? Over 10 years, you know you were doing stuff wrong, you're the one running the ship. And it's not like Jim Boeheim's a guy that has a reputation of just being like a standoff coach. He's involved in everything, especially a group like Syracuse doesn't get like every top recruit. So that means they're grinding everywhere to find decent and talented players anywhere they can find up and down the East Coast. Once again, you know, the media's, you know, in this case here, I should say, you know, the media's just I should say they're complicit, actually. And my apologies for earlier on. I was a little tired today. But, they're very complicit with what's going on. They're just letting things go. I'm sure if this is a player, they'll be going up and down the place and dragging out everything they could on a player. But in this case, the almighty powerful Jim Boeheim and the almighty powerful Mike Krzyzewski. So no one in this case is going to dare rattle the cage to dig up more on exactly what the heck was going on and why you held off in this case of suspending or dismissing a player if you thought in this case he had sexual allegations against him. 2 of them, by the way. And in this case, you've been going about here, trying to go against the system for 10 years. No problem. Same thing we saw with Calhoun just a couple years ago. Heck, they're about to give after Connecticut won last year, they're about to throw roses out for him, and dubs and everything else. It's like, hello? Are you serious? So I just find it amazing how the media, the sacred cows of the media and NCAA, college basketball coaches are at the top end of the sacred cow list. Anyways, that's my, 2 cents on this. I just had to get that rant out. Hey, check for the comments. Put your comments down below what you think about this or anything else is going on in college basketball, because the madness is about to begin. And also, subscribe above and tell me your thoughts on what's going down with some of this stuff, man. Talk to you soon. Later.